This is going to be the most important video for a dropshipping beginner. If you haven't started yet with dropshipping, or if you're in the very beginning, I would highly recommend watching the whole thing. Trust me, it's going to be really important because in this video, I'm going to tell you all the mistakes I'm seeing my students do when they're in the beginning. I've at this point already coached over 100 people. I know exactly how beginners behave when they start out, and I also know what kind of mistakes they're gonna do. So this video is gonna save you from doing all of them, and it's really important to follow all these steps, okay? So let's jump into mistake number 1. So the very first thing is you have to solve one problem at a time. A lot of beginners think 10 steps ahead. They think, how do I scale? How do I brand? How do I do this, even though they didn't even do the first step. So what you have to focus on is one step. You have to do only one thing at a time, and if you are in front of one problem, first solve this and then think of all the problems which lay ahead. Because if you will look at everything, you will be afraid that you're not going to solve all the problems. And even though there are solutions for every single problem in dropshipping, you will not know the answers in the beginning, and that's why you will be stifled. You won't know what to do. So, really important, focus on only one thing at a time. And always think of that when you will think ahead. So, you're always gonna think, okay, right now I have a product and I wanna launch it. But what if my Facebook accounts will get shut down? What if my PayPal will get blocked? What if my store product page will not look the best and people won't convert? You don't know any of that. You don't know what's gonna happen. So don't solve problems, or don't try to solve problems which are laying ahead, and only solve the ones which you actually have. The second thing is validate your product. Every time you find a product, don't think, okay, that's a great product, I love it, let me test it. You have to have a set of criteria in place, and it doesn't matter what criteria you have. I have my specific sets, and I always give them to my students. However, if you decide to make specific criteria for your product, then stick to those. And every time you look at a product, make a sheet where you're gonna check off, okay, does it fit this criteria? Does it fit this? And it has to fit everything to actually be tested. Because in the beginning, I've seen people tend to start testing a product which they personally like or they think people would enjoy. So that's the only criteria they almost base it off, and they just think, okay, does it solve a problem? Yes, no. Do I like it? Yes, no. Does it have a wow effect? Yes, no. And does it have a lot of AliExpress orders? Yes, no. That's not enough. You have to have a set of criteria in place which you always follow to test a product, okay? So keep that in mind, don't test randomly. Number 3 is focus on products which worked for others. Don't come up with crazy concepts of new products or new ideas which nobody tested yet. It's not gonna work. As a beginner, you don't know yet how the things are working, and you're not gonna make anything work that it doesn't have a proven concept, okay? Later on, you can do those things. However, in the beginning, you have no chance of succeeding. So you have to look at everybody else and think, okay, it's working for them. I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna use my own angles and basically replicate the product which is already sold and just focus on that. So all in all, it's really important to have a proven concept, and you have to understand, okay, other people are selling it, and competition is good. You always have to keep that in mind. Competition is good. It means that it works. It doesn't mean that it's saturated. Obviously, if you have thousands of competitors, it's gonna be too much at some point, but it is at least working. Products which are not sold at all, they're not working at all, okay? So don't do the mistake of trying to reinvent the wheel. The next thing is forgetting the margins before you test a product. So I've been seeing this a lot where people test a product which has very, very slim margins, and you won't be able to be profitable with that. So in the beginning, you have all the products in the world to choose from. So it doesn't matter which product you choose, you could be selling anything. You are not connected to a niche, you're not connected to a specific product, you can sell everything, okay? So make your life easier and select a product with really good margins. So I would only select products which have at least a 3x margin, what means that you can buy it for, let's say, $10, and people are already selling it for at least $30. That's just an example. It can be $20.60, it can be $5.15, it doesn't matter. But it has to be that 3x margin, and that's really important. So the next important thing is getting your priorities right. However, you have to choose your own priorities, and you have to understand what you do has to make sense in a priority sense. So you have to understand that every step you take has to be in a high priority. And you cannot just focus on the least priority things and expect good results. So changing things like the logo or little things on the product page won't help you anywhere. Okay, so have a priority list in place and structure your to-do list around it. Always focus on the most important and then go to the least important. The next mistake I see people do is changing the product page or the product pictures if the conversion rate is low. So you have to understand that in a lot of cases you have a good product page, but you will have a low conversion rate. So naturally, in the beginning, you will think, okay, my product page sucks, and now I have to change something in order to get that right. When in reality, in a lot of the cases, it's one or two things. Either the price is too high, or the traffic is bad. So those two things are most likely the bigger problem. If you have a baseline product page which doesn't look super scammy, you're gonna make sales anyways. So if it's not a $80, $90 product plus, in which case then it might make sense to play around with the product page. If it's a lower ticket item, then you will not have this game-changing experience by having an amazing product page in comparison to an okay product page. So you have to understand that the first split test you have to do are the other things. So the price, the product, or the ads. Obviously the product, if you test that basically means that you kill the product and test the next one, or test the next one at the same time, which I would always recommend. However, if you see that a conversion rate is low, don't think that your product page sucks, and maybe think that either your price or your traffic is bad. Number 7 is not getting emotionally attached to your product. So if something doesn't work, just kill it. It's that simple. If anything doesn't work, you have to kill it and not feel obligated to keep going with the product because you invested so much time. Same thing goes for creatives as well. If you create good creatives, which you think are good, they're not working, kill them. Number 8 is focusing on money-making activities. On your priority list, you have to have money-making activities in the very beginning. So don't focus on little things, don't get caught up in the detail, and just focus on money-making stuff first. Number 9 is focusing on one strategy at a time. It's really important to have only one strategy which you follow from A to Z instead of mixing strategies from everywhere. Basically, that's one mistake I did in the beginning. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, I bought a couple of video courses, and I just was overflown by information. I thought I'm gonna pick the best parts from everywhere, which doesn't make sense because I didn't know what the best parts are. So focus on only one strategy and commit to it. If you have to trust that strategy and you have to go with it. Number 10 is having a problem-solving mindset and understanding that every problem you're gonna face, somebody already faced and it was solved. So now, no matter what you do, you have to understand that there's a solution to your problem. If you have any type of problem, there's gonna be a solution, okay? Having that mindset is super, super important, and I've seen a lot of beginners quit just because they think, okay, I have a problem now, that's it. I'm done. I cannot really solve it. In business, you're always gonna have problems which you have to solve, and it's a really critical mindset you have to have in place. Point number 11 is not understanding how the business model of dropshipping works in a budget standpoint. You have to understand that dropshipping is not a low budget business. You're not gonna get started in dropshipping with a couple of $100. I'm telling you, it's not realistic. Yes, you can start with low meme pages and just try to promote something over there, but you're not gonna make real money. It would be a waste of time and waste of money and effort to actually really do that for month and month and month until you actually can get started with Facebook ads and do everything proper. So if you have not enough money, then save money and start later. So you need a budget which is at least 1,000 to 3,000, 4,000 euros to actually really get started. All right, so number 12 is not getting lost in the details, focusing on the most important parts. So the 80-20 principle, everybody knows it. Basically, from 20% of the things you do, you get 80% of your results. In dropshipping, that's very applicable, so you have to focus on only the most important and not focus on little details and waste your time. So the last tip I want to give you here is one thing which I've seen everybody do wrong, and me especially, I made crucial mistakes in the very beginning, which I'm going to talk about in a second. However, the biggest mistake you can do is not knowing your numbers. And I did this mistake where I lost around $350,000 in dropshipping alone because I didn't know my numbers. I just made a video about that, so if you want, you can check that video out as well. However, it is extremely painful if you don't know your numbers, okay? You have to know from the get-go what your break-even point is, what your break-even ROAS is, how much profit you have to make to make everything work. You have to calculate everything. You have to know how much your VAs cost, your refund rate. Everything has to be inside to understand how much money you're gonna make or lose throughout the whole project. Okay, so not knowing your numbers is the biggest mistake you can ever do. And again, if you're interested in watching the video where I talk about exactly that and the mistake I did, then click the link somewhere here on the screen and you're also gonna see that. All right, so if you enjoyed the video, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video.
I want to give a big shout out to Michael, my mentor.
The best dropshipping coach out there I found.
My experiences with Michael's mentoring.
Michael Bernstein.
The guy took me from making $0 to $50,000 this month alone. So I thank him for that.
$307,000, and I have a few other stores.
Then I met him and he completely opened my eyes.
It's been a very good experience. I mean, I've learned a lot, and I made $20K in the first 20 days. So it's kind of crazy for me.